It's generally an uphill challenge on a Sunday for the KTMs, but they're starting a little bit further forward this time. Both Miguel Oliveira and Brad Binder getting through to Q2 yesterday. Miguel Oliveira goes from the middle of row 3. What are their race prospects? Let's get the thoughts of Francesco Guidotti with Simon.
Francesco, as my workmates just mentioned, better start position, and your race pace, as you've said, is not bad at most tracks. Are you optimistic about a good result today?
I am, for sure, especially after the FP4 and after go through the Q2. That was a few races that we missed, and we always anyway had a good race pace, but starting from the back was always difficult. Now we have the chance, a good chance to start very close to the leading group, and we hope to really enjoy the race.
Great stuff, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks to Francesco Guidotti. Yeah, it was an excellent Saturday in Q2 for both Miguel Oliveira and Brad Binder. The pair of them, their best qualifying in 9 Grand Prix since Binder started Mandalika in 4th and Miguel Oliveira started the same Grand Prix over in Indonesia in 7th place. A race, of course, rain hit that he went on to take a victory. Stefan Bradl then, the lone representative for Repsol this weekend. We just saw there a few moments ago Marc Marquez continuing his rehabilitation. He's already on his unfortunate summer break, recovering from that right humerus operation. Stefan Bradl then, the lone warrior now for Repsol. Unfortunately, Pol Espargaro withdrawing pre-FP3 yesterday morning. Severe damage to his left rib cage, making it impossible almost to breathe even and communicate with his team, so he withdrew yesterday morning. Let's not forget, it's a pretty awful time to be a fan of the Japanese superpower. Last weekend the Sachs Ring, the first time in 40 years that Honda didn't register a point. And Frankie Morbidelli there we just saw, he's going to start 20th on the second of the factory Yamahas, and as we remind you, just like Jack Miller, who has a long lap penalty, the same sanction comes the way of Morbidelli as well.
Here's Remy Gardner, who's starting 19th position on the grid. Feels he's closing the gap in terms of time to his fellow KTM riders. Felt there was a little bit more in the tank in qualifying. He said there was a potential to qualify as high as 13th on the grid if he'd nailed the lap in Quali 1 yesterday, although both qualifying sessions yesterday were disrupted by some yellow flags. We generally see plenty of orange when we race in the Netherlands. Of course, those were wearing KTM shirts, of course, so we'll keep a close eye on what the KTMs can do from further back. Of course, the two rookies, Remy Gardner and Raul Fernandez, starting outside the front 6 rows of the grid. Here is the talk of MotoGP this morning. Alex Marquez, a place secured on the 2023 grid with Gresini Ducati, but he's certainly got a big uphill struggle on his hands today, starting from the back of row 7.
Let's quickly pop back down to the grid and speak to Suzuki X-Star team boss Livio Supo. Alex Rins goes from 9th. Juan Mir, the 2020 world champion, rather pessimistic about his podium hopes here in Assen. He goes from 14th. Simon is on the grid with Livio Supo.
I am. Livio, another tough weekend for Juan. Alex has looked strong. I really would like to hear from you what you think's possible today.
It's very difficult to predict. We know the pace is good for a lot of riders, but last year was a good weekend for John, so I hope he's losing a lot in T4, basically, only in T4. So hopefully following somebody will better understand how to manage that section. And sure, he doesn't start from very close, but he can do a good job. And Alex's position is a little bit better. Let's hope also his wrist doesn't cause any problem during the race, but let's at least hope to finish with a reasonable result before the stop.
Thank you, Livio.
Thanks, Livio Supo. There's a small pocket of Pecco Bagnaia fans in the packed to the rafters grandstands. We said it was a sellout here at the Dutch TT. I'm told from some of our colleagues in the media centre, a crowd of 104,000 fans have packed into this famous venue here today. They've not been disappointed by Moto3, certainly not disappointed by Moto2, and still the main event coming up in just over 10 minutes time as we look at Maverick Vinales. Tension written all over the face of the Spanish rider. He's had great race pace all weekend as the Aprilia man, but given himself a big mountain to climb, coming from the middle of the 4th row in 11th.
There was the dark horse as we're turning in, based on what we've heard so far on the grid. Marco Bezzecchi, who starts from the front of row 2, 4th position on the grid. He's already proven that he can run with the leaders this season, finish inside that top 10 finishes in Argentina, at Jerez and at Mugello as well. Can he add a fourth here this afternoon?
Let's quickly then pop back down to Simon Crafar before the traditional grid ceremony gets underway, and hear from Aprilia boss Massimo Rivola.
Massimo, again, the Aprilias look super strong. Well, Leish looks on everybody's paperwork like a podium. What do you think about Maverick and Leish?
I'm touching wood so far. Yesterday I think we didn't deliver the real pace we had in a single lap in qualifying. Maybe yellow flags didn't help much, but we didn't deliver the right performance. Leish is quite fast. Having a good start will be the key for sure. But if he can, after a few laps, be, let's say, on keeping the position or a bit better, I think he can fight for the podium, yes. Maverick is quite in a difficult position there. In the middle, it's not easy, but he also showed a nice pace this morning with our tire, so let's see, but it's going to be interesting. I think weather conditions should be stable like that. Maybe we see a good show.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
What a way then to continue our countdown to round 11 in the MotoGP World Championship this year. The Netherlands national anthem ringing out around Assen, this famous venue set to stage the 91st Dutch TT. It's all about now calming the nerves, keeping the focus, keeping the concentration. This man of late has been fantastic at launching that factory Yamaha off the line. He feels like it may well not be as easy, not a simple task to destroy the field like he did in Barcelona and in Germany last time out, but you do know if Fabio Quartararo can find clear track very early on, that spells big danger for the likes of Pecco Bagnaia, the poleman, and this man Jorge Martin on the Pramac Ducati. This is a big race for him as well, trying to convince Ducati that he's their man to join that factory team, the seat alongside Pecco Bagnaia next season.
We did see in the pit lane around 5-10 minutes ago, just as we were building up to the start of this Dutch TT, the bikes all lined up in pit lane. We have seen flag-to-flag races here before at the Dutch TT. There are one or two threatening dark clouds as we look outside the commentary box window, but the forecast currently does not suggest that any of them are going to dump any rain on this Assen circuit over the course of the next 26 laps. It appears at this stage as if we are set for a fully dry Dutch TT, although in this part of the world you can never be 100% certain of that.
Yeah, let's hope the rain does stay away, because last year, of course, Fabio Quartararo celebrated with the golf celebration. Will he be swinging in the rain as well as singing in the rain? Let's hope not. We're banking on a full dry MotoGP, as you can see there in the background, a very pensive-looking factory Yamaha team boss, Lynn Jarvis. They've got the superstar in MotoGP right now on their books and into 2023 and 2024. This is the famous floating grandstand in the final corner, the Timor chicane. No better sight is there in Grand Prix racing than that, as Pecco Bagnaia then gets himself in the zone, takes on some liquid as we get to nearly 5 minutes away from lights out here in the Netherlands. Who is going to have the perfect pre-summer break boost here? What can Alex Rins do on the factory Suzuki, coming from 9th place? He's always got good race pace. He led the Grand Prix a couple of years ago, didn't he, when he crashed early on up at turn number 9. But here's the man who they are all trying to beat, the 23-year-old Frenchman, Fabio Quartararo. Last time out in Germany, just 7 days ago, he made it. MotoGP win number 11. That's why he's 34 points clear then of the man we just saw there on screens, factory Aprilia rider Aleix Espargaro, who's not had a podium in the last 2 Grand Prix since Mugello. Jorge Martin then on the Pramac Ducati. He starts on that front row of the grid, looking for his first podium since Barcelona when he was the grateful recipient of the big mistake late on by Aleix Espargaro. 5 minutes then to race start here as the BMW safety car peels away. You can almost feel the tension building in the air here as we get set for this 26-lap race here in Assen. The grid then starts to clear.
The 104,000 fans here, they've waited 3 years for this, since 2019. Of course, we didn't have a full crowd by any means here last year, and sadly for the first time since the Grand Prix World Championship began, we didn't come here in 2020. So the capacity crowd at one of the most popular venues in the world. There are a few better places to spend a Sunday afternoon watching the best riders in the world ply their trade. The final weekend of June, as always, a traditional stop-off here in the Netherlands for the Dutch TT, who will be the master at the Cathedral in 26 laps time.
So the helicopter shot looks down then on the grid as we get set for the battle for the latest 25 points in this World Championship. It's a first front row start in 7 since he was on pole at the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas for Jorge Martin. He's on that medium front, hard rear tyre combination for Michelin. Trying to make it 2 podiums in the last 3 Grand Prix. The reigning world champion, the current king in MotoGP, the series leader by 34 points. Fabio Quartararo going for a 3rd consecutive victory in 2022. But can Pecco Bagnaia on the factory Ducati, winless here in the Dutch TT in 14 years since Aussie legend Casey Stoner prevailed in 2008. A 10th career pole, a 4th in the last 6 races for Pecco Bagnaia. Is there Dutch delight for Ducati?
The capacity crowd is ready, the riders are ready. Let's race at the Cathedral of Speed. Pecco Bagnaia on pole position ahead of Fabio Quartararo and Jorge Martin. Marco Bezzecchi, a sensational 4th ahead of Aleix Espargaro, who trails Fabio Quartararo by 34 points in the world title chase. Jack Miller starts 6th with a long lap penalty. The KTM challenge comes from rows 3 and 4 with Miguel Oliveira and Brad Binder. Keep your eyes on Maverick Vinales from the middle of row 4. He is a master around this circuit. Enea Bastianini, who still harbours World Championship hopes, he's all the way back on row 6. 26 laps ahead of us, and will it all be decided at that final Gert-Timmer chicane?
It's been a pretty hectic and intense first half of this year's MotoGP World Championship. This completes a run of 4 races in the last 5 weeks. We're already at round 11 at the end of June. A championship that is being led then by Fabio Quartararo, 172 points as the riders peel away on their warm-up lap. 104,244 fans are here for a sellout crowd at the Dutch TT. What a great number that is. Great to see the fans back here for the first time since 2019. Is that Jack Miller peeling into the long lap penalty there just to get an assessment of how much time he might lose or gain, and just to check the grip levels? He had a long lap penalty last time out, didn't he, in Germany? There's your championship then, going into the second half of this year's title chase. Fabio Quartararo has a 34-point advantage over Aleix Espargaro, who starts in 5th place. Johan Zarco is the top Ducati, but 61 points adrift of his compatriot in the point standings. And then there's another big gap, further 11 points back is Enea Bastianini, who's on 72 points behind Fabio Quartararo. Almost ideal conditions, a very pleasant 22 degrees ambient temperature, not a lot of wind blowing around across this flat Assen circuit as Fabio Quartararo leads the warm lap. He'll love to be in this position in about 2 minutes' time when it's lights out for the 91st running of the Dutch TT here in Assen.
We're expecting a fast pace at the start of this Grand Prix. Tyre drop and tyre wear is not expected to be an issue in this Grand Prix. Fabio Quartararo, of course, the winner here last year, he says he's going to go at 100% from the start to the finish, from the start of lap 1 to the end of lap 26. Will he have another 25 points waiting for him and extending his championship lead still further? The stadium-like feel to this final chicane. Will we see more history made here as we've seen over the years?
Yeah, Kevin Schwantz versus Wayne Rainey back in 1991. Who could ever forget this one? Colin Edwards meters away from his first ever Grand Prix victory, crashing out, and Nicky Hayden won a crucial win on the way to the 2006 title. And all the drama, all the controversy of Rossi versus Marquez back in 2015. 104,000 fans are making this Dutch TT the biggest sporting event in the world today. All eyes now on the fastest riders in the world as they tackle one of the fastest tracks in the world. It's the Dutch TT, ladies and gentlemen. The green flag waves at the back. It's going to be lights out very, very shortly, and we are going to be go here in Assen. Great start for proposition for Pecco Bagnaia. Likewise, Fabio Quartararo as well, the World Championship leader, coming from the middle of the first shot. He's going to slot into second place. Aleix Espargaro's had a really good start. Quartararo's going in wide. He's going hot in that first corner. Martin and Aleix Espargaro sweep on through him. Quartararo was second, back to fourth. And what about this from Aleix Espargaro? Stunning start from the man second in the championship, fifth to second already.
Aleix got away very, very well. He was on the outside of turn one and was able to take advantage. Quartararo straight back through into the strub, and he knows he needs to get out front as early as he can. And Pecco Bagnaia already trying to build up a lead. Martin now just up behind Aleix Espargaro. Then we have Jack Miller, who has to serve his long lap penalty, and Marco Bezzecchi back in sixth.
Quartararo was second going into turn three, and now he's come out of it briefly in second. He must have been really aggressive at the Struben. He has lost second place back, though, to Aleix Espargaro. There's Jorge Martin running a tight line right at the top end of the circuit now. Mandeveen, also Steckenval, into turn 9 now, into the Bolt. Pecco Bagnaia is already nearly 9/10 of a second clear of the chasing packers. Bezzecchi picks up Jack Miller going through the Bolt. That's a successful move. So Bezzecchi started P4, now back in P4 ahead of the Aussie.
Awful start for Johan Zarco. If that sequence of results is going to continue, I think it's already out of the question. He's currently showing 12th on our timing screens. I'm sure it was him I saw running wide there on the exit of the Bolt. Zarco currently down in P12. Any hopes for a podium are remote from here.
Bagnaia has been so good on this first lap. There was Vinales having a look up the inside of Nakagami through the high-speed fourth gear ramshook. Then they tip it through the timber chicane for the first time, and it will be the pole man in position A here at the end of lap 1. Pecco Bagnaia leads by nearly 3/4 of a second over Aleix Espargaro, who's had a superb first lap. A stunner from the Spaniard. He was fifth on the grid. He got into second place on that first lap. Quartararo third, Martin fourth, Bezzecchi, Miller, Binder, Nakagami, Vinales, Oliveira, your top 10.
Not a good start for the factory Suzukis. Alex Rins, as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, has dropped back to 6th position, or dropped back 6 to 15th, but he's still ahead of his teammate, Joan Mir, who's down outside the points at the moment.
So Aleix Espargaro said yesterday, the start, the first 3 or 4 seconds of Grand Prix, probably the most important in terms of his podium aspirations. He absolutely nailed it, didn't he? Anticipated the lights to absolute perfection, did Aleix Espargaro. We're on board then now with Pecco Bagnaia, the shoulder cam, scraping the tarmac there, isn't he? Pecco Bagnaia in this second sector. That's right at the top end of the circuit as he comes now through Steckenval. Bagnaia's advantage has been reduced already down to half a second on this second lap.
Bezzecchi looking aggressive. We know he's gone for the softer option on the rear tyre in this Grand Prix. We're told to look out for him in the early stages. He's already got past Jack Miller, who still hasn't served his long lap penalty to this point. Bezzecchi looking as if he's got eyes on 4th place and going past Jorge Martin if this continues the way it is. As it stands at the moment then, Bagnaia's lead still hovering around half a second.
Yeah, Bezzecchi now trying to hold up honour for the Mini VR46 Ducati team because his teammate Luca Marini's had a dreadful start, not what he was looking for at all. The Italian, after a fantastic 5th place 7 days ago in Germany, started 13th in Marini. He slipped down to 18th place right now.
So across the line then to complete lap 2. Fastest lap of the race to Aleix Espargaro, who pulls 0.3 of a second back on Pecco Bagnaia. Martin now is behind Marco Bezzecchi. Bezzecchi then through into 4th position. Jack Miller then expect him to come through the long lap penalty very, very soon. He doesn't this time, so he'll have to on the next lap. Brad Binder's made good progress early on. He's the leading KTM now in 7th position, just ahead of Taka Nakagami, and Maverick Vinales, who we know has very good race pace, hasn't made the early progress he would have hoped to. He is up 2 places, but he's still back in 9th.
Well, factory Ducati boss Davide Tarlozzi pre-race with Simon Crafar put his faith and backed Marco Bezzecchi, didn't he? And that faith has not been misplaced at all in the early stages of this Dutch TT. We're right on board with Aleix Espargaro. There's your race leader, Bagnaia, just ahead of him through the 3rd gear Steckenval corner. That little kink then as they start to move up towards the Bolt. This is lap number 3. This is where Alex Rins crashed out of the lead back in 2019, very early on. There was Bezzecchi then. What's the gap between him and Quartararo now? It's just about half a second.
And it's come down so far on this lap. Bezzecchi with very good pace. He's obviously got good initial grip early in this Grand Prix, given that he did start on that softer rear tyre. So keep a very close eye on the number 72, the leading rookie, qualified on the 2nd row of the grid, and he is sticking around at the front. But at the very front, we did hear from Pecco Bagnaia early in the weekend. He said he doesn't think this is the kind of circuit where someone will be able to break away early on, and unfortunately from his point of view, he's being proved right.
Over the line then Bagnaia comes. There he is on that factory Ducati with the breathtaking shoulder cam, bringing you these stunning pictures as he sweeps into the second gear Harbock, turn number 1. Now building up a little bit of speed through Madike. Quartararo now is all over the rear tyre of Aleix Espargaro as Miller comes in from his long lap penalty. He recovered from a long lap in Germany last weekend to take a podium. That'll be a big ask now though here in Assen as he slots in behind the number 88, the factory KTM of Miguel Oliveira.
So that will be 10th place for Jack Miller as he now gets ready to resume his charge through the field. 10th position for him. Here are the tyre choices on your screen. There were a couple of late changes on the grid, but not that affect this leading group. And Bastianini did make a change to the softer front tyre and softer rear, and Alex Rins also switched to a harder rear tyre, and that's not serving him very well at the moment. He's down in 16th position.
So as Ducati chase a first win here in Assen since Casey Stoner back in 2008, it's been plan A executed to perfection so far by Bagnaia. We're now looking from the rear-facing camera of Aleix Espargaro, getting a faceful, aren't we, here, of the world champion Fabio Quartararo as they attack the iconic fast sector here in Assen. Just about to click 6th gear here, nearing 280 kilometres now through Hogerheide. Then they'll bank it hard left through the Ramshoek, still high speed, high lean angle through this 4th gear left-hander, and then now coming into the Timmer chicane. As we saw pre-race, there's been a fair amount of drama there over the course of the years. Lap 4 then in the books. Pecco Bagnaia leads by 0.4 of a second. Aleix Espargaro is the man in 2nd place. We're looking at him now from Fabio Quartararo, who's right in striking distance now, the Aprilia man.
Fastest rider on track though is Marco Bezzecchi in 4th position. The 3 leaders up ahead are all lapping near enough on the same lap time on a 1:33.0, but it was a 32.7 for Marco Bezzecchi in 4th position. He's pulled clear as Quartararo now attacks.
Oh, he's down! Oh no, Fabio Quartararo's gone down! A rare mistake from the world champion. Since the opening Grand Prix of 2021, Fabio Quartararo's had 1 DNF in the last 27 races. What a collector's item that is. I can't believe my eyes. Fabio Quartararo, with the rarest of mistakes, has crashed here at the Struben corner. He's picked up Aleix Espargaro as well and really wrecked the hopes of victory here for the Aprilia man. He has been able to remount the factory Yamaha, but at turn number 5, high drama indeed here in Assen. Fabio Quartararo, who was going for 3 consecutive wins on the Yamaha here in the Dutch TT, he's made the biggest mistake of the season so far for him personally. Down at turn 5, he's remounted, but that's game over for his victory hopes here in Holland.
And for Aleix Espargaro, he's now down in 15th position. Here's another look then from the helicopter shot. The move was on. Quartararo goes for the dive up the inside, and contact with Aleix Espargaro pushes Aleix Espargaro out onto the gravel trap. Quartararo has rejoined, but he's going to have to take responsibility for that.
That's just a mistake that's so unusual. So rare, isn't it, for Fabio Quartararo? He's not a rider that's you would call like really aggressive and hard in the fight, but he was up the inside there of Aleix Espargaro. There was contact there, you could just see the front going out from underneath Quartararo. Thankfully Aleix Espargaro did stay on board. I remember back in 2011, wasn't it, there was a collision there between Jorge Lorenzo and Marco Simoncelli, which allowed Ben Spies to take his first win in MotoGP, the last time an American won in MotoGP. So there's more controversy here then at turn 5 in Assen. Quartararo has remounted the factory Yamaha. He's having a good look down there. I just wonder whether it's perhaps too damaged for him to continue. Quartararo then came over the line in last place. No great surprise there. He did a 1:52.7, so he lost 20 seconds with that big and rare mistake into turn number 5.
Well, that's not a pit board that Pecco Bagnaia expected to be seeing, to a gap back to the 72 of Marco Bezzecchi, who's now up into 2nd place. It was a disastrous lap, though, for the Monster Energy Yamaha team. Not only did Fabio Quartararo crash out, but Franco Morbidelli, who hadn't served his long lap penalty quickly enough, he's now been handed a double long lap penalty. He served the first of them, but the 2 factory Yamahas are now at the back of the field.
Well, can you believe what we've just seen then? Fabio Quartararo making the rarest of mistakes when he was trying to find a way through to take 2nd place from Aleix Espargaro at the Struben. And that's completely compromised both of their hopes here of fighting Pecco Bagnaia for the victory. Was Quartararo just keen to get on with it there because he saw Bagnaia just starting to stretch away. Quartararo had also been getting a message about how quickly Bezzecchi was coming towards his rear tyre as well. But here's the luckless Aleix Espargaro, who at the moment has just come over the line. A solitary point back into the Aprilia man. He's in 15th place. He's 8 seconds behind Pecco Bagnaia, as here is the reigning world champion, P24, last place for Fabio Quartararo. We've not said that very often in what's been an incredible MotoGP career since he set foot in the Premier class as a rookie sensation back in 2019, but he'll know that, he'll admit it. That was a big mistake from Quartararo.
And he's lapping slowly, Matt. That was his first clear lap after the accident, of course, came over the line. That's his first full lap since the crash, and he did a 1:36.9. He's the slowest rider on the circuit, 3 seconds lap slower than the leader. So Quartararo is going to have to rely on some drama up ahead of him if he's to score points. Only he and Aleix Espargaro, of course, they're the only two riders in this field who have scored points every single Grand Prix so far this season. Aleix Espargaro currently only on target for one of them.
So that dramatic incident involving Quartararo and Aleix Espargaro at turn 5 has brought these two guys right into podium contention, hasn't it? There's Brad Binder on the factory KTM, sweeping through the 5th gear move and mere. Binder in 4th place, Vinales then up to 5th spot. Taka Nakagami trying to rescue what's been a really tough period, probably one of the toughest periods of his Grand Prix career after his involvement in the first corner incident in Barcelona. A tough physical experience last time out in the Sachsenring. His race crash was his 3rd of the weekend in Germany. Nakagami is inside the top 6. Miller 7th after his long lap. Oliveira 8th, Sarko 9th, with Gil Antonio rounding out the top 10.
Aleix Espargaro starting to make some progress then. He's now past Alex Marquez, so he's up into 14th position. He'll be boiling under that helmet, of course. He'll be raging with what's happened, Aleix Espargaro, but he does still have the opportunity to claw back some points on Fabio Quartararo. Here's how it looked from the rear of Pecco Bagnaia up ahead.
He came from a long way back, didn't he, there, Fabio Quartararo? He got on the inside, but as he squeezed the brake on, he locked the front, down he went. Unfortunately, the innocent victim of that little melee was Aleix Espargaro. You could see the disappointment etched all over the face of Lynn Jarvis and the factory Yamaha crew. Yellow flags are out now again in Sector 1. We're on board, we can see Aleix Espargaro still circulating in 14th place. It's Frankie Morbidelli. Well, it's
That's also a disturbing.
Well, what a horrible day it's been at turn 5 then for the Monster Energy Yamaha team, because Fabio Quartararo was down there early on. Frankie Morbidelli was carrying a lot of lead angle there, quite a lot of speed, wasn't he? He turned in to turn 5. You could just see there more dejection and frustration coming the way of Morbidelli. So at the moment we're on course for no points for the factory Yamaha team.
As it stands at the moment, we're heading for a podium lockout for Ducati. We have Bagnaia leading from Bezzecchi, who's keeping Bagnaia well and truly in sight at the moment. The rookie doing a really good job in this Grand Prix. Here's Aleix Espargaro now at the inside of his good friend Alex Rins. That's 13th position. The incident will be reviewed after this Grand Prix, but the battle isn't over at the front just yet, despite the fact that Bagnaia's two likeliest contenders are out of this Grand Prix. Pecco Bagnaia's lead is down to under a second, personal best for each of the leading duo last time around, but Marco Bezzecchi was marginally the faster of the two.
So Aleix Espargaro trying to recover some vital World Championship points here. He's now got through on Alex Marquez and Alex Rins, trying to limit the damage as much as he possibly can. Damage that wasn't self-inflicted, was it, after Quartararo's blunder? He will at the moment be recovering 3 points back to the Frenchman. He started this Dutch TT 34 adrift of Quartararo, 31 it would stand if you threw the checkered flag now. Let's just have a look. He's got a lot of work to do to then claw his way back into Enea Bastianini, who's circulating in 12th place. Aleix Espargaro currently 2.5 seconds. It looks like it's race over for Fabio Quartararo.
Yeah, he's entered the pits.
He's slowed right up. He's down the back straight, isn't he?
Oh, someone else
has gone down. There's been another faller as well. So Fabio Quartararo is calling it a day here after a rare mistake from him. Thankfully for Ducati fans, it's none of the top 3. It's Darren Binder. So now, that was a big one. Wow, that is a very second-hand RNF Yamaha, to say the least. So 3 Yamahas have had a bad day. Now Steckenval catches out the South African rookie. So we've only got Andrea Dovizioso now on the factory, on the Yamaha that's currently involved in the Iwata factory, and he's outside the points as well.
So an opportunity gilt-edged opportunity the way of Pecco Bagnaia. Once again, though, Bezzecchi was slightly faster up behind him, so the lead stands at the moment at 0.8 of a second. Then further back we have Brad Binder also lapping in the high 132s at the moment with Maverick Vinales for company. Jack Miller is currently the fastest rider on track, though, of course, recovering from his long lap penalty. The Aussie is currently in 6th position, but he is closing in on the back of Brad Binder and Maverick Vinales in that battle for 4th position. But a real opportunity for Pecco Bagnaia. Little did he realise when he crashed out of the German Grand Prix last week ago, as Fabio Quartararo does now enter the pits, that Bagnaia could have an opportunity to cancel out the 25 points he lost in Germany.
Quartararo will be kicking himself, no question about that. It's not very often that we see this sight, is it, from the world champion. He comes in there to chat to his crew chief, Diego Gabellini. I don't know if there's just something that's preventing him from carrying on. I think that's just behind the frame there. Sam Crafar just right on scene, just trying to find out exactly what's going on right now with Fabio Quartararo. It looks like he is heading back out on circuit. He is. So Quartararo quickly came in. He's banging the clutch lever, isn't he, as well, on the left handlebar. He's actually pretty fortunate. I mean, well, obviously now it was going to be a very remote chance of scoring any points anyway, but this is going to be the big talking point in MotoGP as we head into the long 5-week summer break. World champion Fabio Quartararo trying to get through to 2nd place early on at the Strubben, and Quartararo goes down. The fans in the grandstands, they can't believe it. We certainly can't believe it here in the commentary box. I don't even think Fabio Quartararo can believe it, as well as he just tries to make sure he's not impeding anybody out on circuit right now. Comes through the long lap penalty. You just wonder actually here whether Quartararo will maybe come back into the pits again, but there's going to be no points, nil point for the Frenchman today.
Yeah, the only thing that Fabio Quartararo can really gain from being out there is to hope that there's either a red flag later on in the Grand Prix or that some incident happens further up ahead of him that brings him back into contention, and maybe he can steal a point or two, but it's not looking likely at the moment. Here's what's been going on then in the battle for 4th. Maverick Vinales has taken it, and there is why. A little bit wide there for Brad Binder, and Maverick Vinales spots the opportunity as he goes through turns 3 and 4. So the Sola Aprilia man towards the front of this Grand Prix, now up into 4th.
That was lovely by Vinales, threading that Aprilia through the eye of a needle on the inside of Brad Binder. So Maverick Vinales on course for another top result here in Assen, not the podium he wanted, but 4th place would be easily his best result on the RSGP. He's 1.6 seconds now behind Jorge Martin. You just wonder whether Jorge Martin, given the fact he's got an infection in the recovering wound after that right wrist operation directly after the Barcelona race, whether he might just run into some physical problems later on in this Grand Prix. It's such a taxing, energy-sapping race as Aleix Espargaro comes in late on Fabio Di Antonio. That's more positions and places gained than for Aleix Espargaro. He's creeping his way towards the top 10. That's 12th now for the Aprilia man.
Yeah, looking ahead of him, he's lapping 3/10 quicker than Enea Bastianini, who's now 1.6 seconds up the road. So there's still potentially a top 10 in the offing here for Aleix Espargaro if he keeps his head down, and if he's thinking like a World Championship contender, he has to look at the opportunity here. Of course, he should, in his mind, still be up at the front of this Grand Prix, but there is a real chance for him to claw some points back on Fabio Quartararo. So too the opportunity here for Pecco Bagnaia, whose lead is still hovering at under a second. Marco Bezzecchi is doing a sensational job here in 2nd place. He has eyes, of course, on a first MotoGP podium, but he's only 0.7 of a second shy of the lead of Bagnaia and lapping quicker.
So Pecco Bagnaia, we thought, didn't we, after the Sachs ring, after this man fell off early on at the first corner on lap 4, 91 points behind Fabio Quartararo, that his world title hopes had completely gone. But it's game back on now, isn't it? He'll be 66 points behind Quartararo going to Silverstone in 5 weeks' time if he can resist the pressure coming behind him from Marco Bezzecchi. That is a deficit that he can easily claw back in the remainder of the season. Here he comes in now, that magnificent floating grandstand over the timber chicane in the background there to Pecco Bagnaia's left-hand side. We'll check his lap time and check the gap between him and fellow VR46 Academy rider Marco Bezzecchi. Bagnaia is really getting the hammer down here. That was the perfect lap to ride on board with the Italian, because he found a 1:32.654, his best lap of the Grand Prix so far, and that pushes him a second for the first time clear of Bezzecchi in this Grand Prix, although Aleix Espargaro's got phenomenal race pace at the moment. Despite the run-off at turn 5 after the contact with Quartararo, Aleix Espargaro's just dug deep to find a 1:32 5.91. Fastest lap of the Grand Prix for the Aprilia man, and he's honing in now big style on the Nea Bastianini. There's 11th place here now coming very, very quickly for the Aprilia star.
Well, Ducati have only won here once in the Grand Prix in the Premier Class. Here's a look at the start once again. We're looking at Joan Mir. What are we going to take a look at here as he pulls into the grid? He almost makes contact there with Miguel Oliveira, and something drops off the Suzuki.
I think it's the wing. I think it's Miguel Oliveira's aero, isn't it?
Is he going to make contact as well to line? He is. He makes contact with Luca Marini as well. No wonder Marini dropped back.
Joan Mir must feel like he's in a rugby scrum after the start of that Grand Prix.
Quartararo again.
Fabio Quartararo has gone down again. Well, high drama again. Fabio Quartararo. Well, we thought it was unusual to see him crash once in a Grand Prix, but can you believe this now? He's crashed twice in the Dutch TT in 2022. He's really in pain as well. That was a big one. Was that a high side coming out of the Struben? It is. It's a second crash in turn 5 for Fabio Quartararo. Don't think I've seen anything like this for quite some time. Then the reigning world champion, your current MotoGP world championship leader, Fabio Quartararo, on the way in, hitting a later Spargo a few laps to go, and on the way out of turn 5, that's a big one. That's horrible. That's a savage one. A bucking Bronco that factory Yamaha turned into. We're looking now directly at Fabio Quartararo. He starts to lose the rear tyre, and then he just gets flicked once, twice, 3 times. Good night, Vienna. Over the handlebars he goes. Can you believe it then? The World Championship almost turned on its head really here in Assen as Fabio Quartararo crashes twice, yes, twice in the Dutch TT.
He's barely put a wheel wrong all season, and then it's all gone wrong here in Assen. You've had to ask the question why Fabio Quartararo went back out on track in the first place, given that he was 2 laps down and way down the back of the field in 22nd place, but he's definitely not remounting from that one. So a disastrous afternoon for the Monster Energy Yamaha team is complete. Both of their riders now out of the Grand Prix. Only 3 retirements from this Grand Prix, and they're all Yamaha riders. Taka Nakagami's now just been given a long lap penalty on our timing screens. He's currently running in 7th position. That's going to drop him now behind Miguel Oliveira. So Nakagami, who's exceeded track limits, he's exceeded track limits once too many. He's now going to have to follow Morbidelli and Jack Miller through the long lap penalty.
The Japanese factories in MotoGP right now are having a real tough time of it, aren't they? Particularly Honda. When you look last weekend in Germany, the first time in 40 years, they didn't score a single point. And today, their bigger, whiter rivals, they're potentially on course for no point scoring finish in this Dutch TT. Fabio Quartararo, thankfully, he's on his feet. Battered and bruised going to the summer break is Quartararo as he begins to digest what happened in a highly dramatic Grand Prix here in the Netherlands for him. We remind you, he had that crash at turn 5 early on when trying to snatch second place right here from a later Spargo at the Struben, and then having gone back out of the circuit, as Lewis said, a futile task really. He had no chance of scoring points in this Grand Prix, and then coming out of the Struben, a big high side for Fabio Quartararo. A little bit fortunate to walk away from that one, but it's the first blot on the copybook for him so far in 2022. He'll see his World Championship lead potentially shrink to around 30 points. This is the horrible second crash for Quartararo. Oh, that was nasty. A proper headbutt onto the screen of that factory Yamaha. His day has done here in Holland. There will be no more Dutch delight for Quartararo after his brilliant dominant win here 1 year ago. Further back then in the field is Johan Zarco in a disappointing 9th. There's actually a rain spot there on the camera right at the top end of the circuit.
It's the only thing that hasn't happened so far in this Grand Prix, if we have rain falling as well. But Johan Zarco, who fell down the field early on in the Grand Prix, back outside the top 10. You can see that Ducati really snaking as he slams on the brakes for the Gertimish chicane. He's gone wide and it's cost him. Joan Mir now has the run down the start-finish straight. It's not a very long straight. He's on the outside line, and Zarco should be able to get on the brakes and hold that one off into turn 1. But Joan Mir looking to get the cut back now through turn 2. No way through for now, but Mir fighting for 9th position, and it now will become 8th as Taka Nakagami serves his long lap penalty.
Now, later Spargo's having a sensational ride. He'll be absolutely devastated, been cleaned out by Quartararo right here in turn 5, because without any question, he's got pace to have won this Grand Prix and gone with Pecco Bagnaia. He's just in another fastest lap of the race, a 1:32.500. There he is in the middle of your picture, coming out of Wienschlang, now going through Ruskendhoek at turn 7, approaching hard towards Steckenwald. It's only a matter of time before he picks his way through on Mir and Zarco. So Fabio Quartararo will see his World Championship advantage shrink even further here, because Aleix Espargaro, by far the quickest man on the circuit right now, certainly not without the realms of possibility that he might get Taka Nakagami here for 7th.
Here comes Mir then, he attacks this time as they come through Mandevane up the inside of Johan Zarco. Is he able to keep it tight and get in front of the Pramac Gigante? He is just about, so Mir now up into 8th position. This is all going to bring Aleix Espargaro further into play. Here he is now at the back of this trio. Aleix Espargaro now will be looking to attack into Ramschuk, and he moves past Zarco. The second man in the championship passes the rider who currently sits 3rd. Aleix Espargaro now up to P9.
He's going for it on Mir at the Timber chicane. He's just scything his way through the field. It's like a hot knife through butter, isn't it? Aleix Espargaro, of course, I was going to say he was going to potentially have the pace here to catch Miguel Oliveira. He's 1.3 seconds behind the Portuguese man with still time in his pocket. 10 laps to go. There's a face of frustration then for Fabio Quartararo. 2 big mistakes in that Dutch TT for him means there's going to be no points on the table for him. It's all about how many now Aleix Espargaro can recover. Let's just have a check on the gap between himself and Miguel Oliveira through this first sector. Here is Bagnaia. I thought I'd seen the rain spots on the camera through turn number 12. There are the rain flags then. We've had an incredibly dramatic day of racing here in Assen, in Moto 3, in Moto 2. Is there another chapter in this remarkable day of racing at the Dutch TT? Because, as you saw there are rain flags being waved. The white flag with the diagonal red cross on it. That means there are rain falling in certain sectors. The white flag has been displayed, which then means, of course, that riders now are entitled to come in and change bikes. We've still got a long way to go here. 9.5 laps. Are we moving towards an unlikely flag-to-flag scenario?
The last place you want to be in this kind of situation is at the front, and Pecco Bagnaia is struggling. He's lost 0.4 of a second already in the 3rd sector of the lap to Marco Bezzecchi, who can just gauge himself against the man in front of him.
How scary must that be? Martin struggling here as well. He's seen the rain spots falling on his visor, coming through the 6-gear Hogerheider with rain spots on your visor, on your screens. How nerve-wracking, how scary would that be? Now then, this Dutch TT could be turned completely on its head here. Pecco Bagnaia at the start of lap number 18 leads by 1.3 seconds ahead.
He lost 4/10 last lap.
He did, yeah. I mean, this is really, now you can just see it's the guys who are going to really push hard. Jack Miller is a master at judging tricky and rapidly changing track conditions. Jorge Martin has really been caught out by the rain spots. Well, you can see it in the background. Jorge Martin was 4th at the start of this lap 18. He's already lost places to Binder and to Miller. Binder and Miller, slick tyres on a wet surface. Those are 2 guys that you would put your mortgage on, wouldn't you, to be right in the heat of the battle. 8.5 laps to go. There is your race leader, Bagnaia.
Well, through the first sector, Bagnaia has responded a little bit. He's pulled 2/10 back now on Marco Bezzecchi, but we'll track it on this lap, because if you're leading this Grand Prix, you're the first rider to hit any rain that arrives. You're not able to look at the riders up ahead and see how much they're struggling and gauge yourself against them. So the second sector completed, it stayed at 1.5, and the 3rd sector, once again, Marco Bezzecchi unable to pull any further time back on Bagnaia. So if it is steady rain that's falling, Bagnaia is coping with it okay at the moment.
You've got to have some supreme confidence to throw a 300 horsepower MotoGP bike into the 6-gear Hogerheider with rain spots falling in that 4th sector. That's exactly what Pecco Bagnaia is doing. You can see there at the final corner in the timber chicane and over the start-finish line, the rain flags are being waved. It's advantage Bagnaia by 1.4 seconds. Aleix Espargaro's exceptional charge through the pack continues. He's now picked off Miguel Oliveira.
The 2 Suzukis nearly made contact there. Alex Rins trying to get the Suzuki stopped into turn 1, nearly ran straight up the back of his teammate Joan Mir. They're now running in 9th and 10th. Whatever rain is falling, the pace is still pretty fast up at the front. Bagnaia still lapping in the low 1:33, so he's still showing pretty good pace out here, and you can see what it's done to that leading pack. Jorge Martin has plummeted down the order as a result of that. Vinales now holds 3rd, so Aprilia could still salvage a podium from this Grand Prix. Then it's Binder, Miller and Martin in 6th, who's falling back into the clutches of Aleix Espargaro.
We just saw there Raul Fernandez as well coming into the pits. I don't think it was for a bike swap, and the way his body language was, he was looking pretty frustrated. It looked looks like the end of his Grand Prix. Yeah, it is. Raul Fernandez then on the 25, but it looks like he's got some arm pump or something maybe. He was holding that right forearm. We'll try and find out exactly what caused the retirement for Raul Fernandez. Now then, here we go then. These are conditions that Jack Miller and Brad Binder will absolutely relish and revel in, won't they? They go through Hogerheide on lap number 19. Binder in 4th place at the moment. He is about 0.8 of a second adrift of Viñales in 3rd. There's a
struggling to get his glove off.
Crew chief.
He's looking at his hand, wasn't he? Looking at his right hand there, Raul Fernandez. So clearly something was hurting him. He was really struggling to get that glove off of his right hand. The rain flags then still wave. You can see how gloomy it looks here at the TT circuit. Assen warning the riders of the impending danger up ahead. Bezzecchi was able to come back at Bagnaia on the last lap. As I said, the pace isn't slow by any means, but Bezzecchi was able to do a 1:32.952 last time round. He was able to pull a couple of tenths back on Bagnaia. He's coping very well with the conditions as the race lead, but he hasn't got this one under control just yet.
Yeah, as you can see, it's only light spots of rain. The rain hasn't got any worse at all because the lap times are remaining pretty stable. Aleix Espargaro's fastest lap of the Grand Prix is a 1:32.500, so Pecco Bagnaia was only 6 tenths away from that benchmark on his last lap, so they've still got the confidence to push hard. Well, it's a dry track, isn't it? But the rain hasn't come heavy enough as yet to sort of see them back off to any great extent. Bagnaia then now goes through Mandevane, turn 10, then they'll really start to unleash the potential and power of a MotoGP bike now, attacking out through Mouvemere, the 5th gear corner. Paolo Ciabatti looks skyward. That's what we're all doing. Everybody's going to get neck ache soon, looking towards the cloudy skies here in Assen, wondering if the rain will worsen, if the conditions will deteriorate. As it stands though right now, Pecco Bagnaia flicks the factory Ducati through the timber chicane. It's about to start lap number 21. His advantage over fellow Ducati rider Marco Bezzecchi has just stretched out to 1.5 seconds. He took nearly half a second away from Bezzecchi as Miller on the inside of Binder into the Harbot corner. So Jack Miller now into 4th place.
Yeah, so any rain that's falling, Pecco Bagnaia has clearly understood that it's not enough to slow him down at the moment. That was a good response from the race leader, a 1:32.767. He pulled 4 tenths out then on Marco Bezzecchi, but once again, Aleix Espargaro is showing incredible pace. He's just on a 1:32.6 on the last lap. He's comfortably the fastest rider on track, trying to work out how far up he could go. He's going a half a second a lap faster than everyone ahead of him, with the exception of the race leader, Francesco Bagnaia. So could he get up towards the podium yet? I don't think it's out of the realms of possibility if Aleix Espargaro continues this run as he's going. Look at the time he's pulling back on Jorge Martin, but certainly a big points haul against the odds still coming in for Aleix Espargaro.
Yeah, well, having been in the grass and the gravel at turn 5 right at the beginning of this Grand Prix, if Aleix would have told Aleix Espargaro then he'll come through to 7th, maybe even better, he would have snapped your hands up because he would have thought it was podium hopes completely gone when Fabio Quartararo rammed into the side of his factory Aprilia. Right now then, having Miller got into 4th place, he's already put a bit of daylight between himself and Binder. That gap's been inked out to 0.3 of a second. Jorge Martin of the lead group was clearly the most disturbed by those rain spots coming down on his visor, as you'd expect. He's had some pretty big crashes and big injuries, hasn't he, already in his MotoGP career as the Spanish rider. The Martinator then over the line in 6th place, still keeping tabs as he uses Binder and Miller as a reference directly ahead of him. There was Aleix Espargaro then, again, he's the only man on this Assen circuit right now keeping himself in the 1:32 bracket. 1:32.818 from Aleix Espargaro. He's got 1.8 seconds to fight back and get on par with Martin in 6th.
Behind Aleix Espargaro, Joan Mir now leads this trio, battling for 8th, 9th and 10th, which includes his teammate Alex Rins. It's Mir from Oliveira from Rins. Enea Bastianini's tough weekend hasn't gone any better here this afternoon. He's running down in 11th at the moment, just ahead of Taka Nakagami, who of course served that long lap penalty. Johan Zarco's pace has gone nowhere. He's back in 13th now, so Zarco isn't going to score too many points today either. Fabio Di Gianantonio is in 14th position, and the last point at the moment is held by Alex Marquez, who's running in no man's land at the moment. He's 7 seconds behind Di Gianantonio, his future teammate, and 6 seconds ahead of Luca Marini.
So Pecco Bagnaia, he is now nearly 2 seconds clear of Bezzecchi in that 2nd place. Vinales is starting to come under big pressure here. Jack Miller has got the hammer down. He can see another podium finish, having come through the long lap penalty, just like he did 7 days ago in the Saxon Ring. Miller has got within 7/10 of a second through sector 3 on this lap 22 here at the Dutch TT. A race that is still led quite comfortably by the poleman Pecco Bagnaia. A 1:33 flat comes in from the Italian. That's again about another 10th he's found on Bezzecchi. Vinales there in 3rd, and Miller has found another 10th in that final sector. So Jack Miller now really honing in on another podium finish here in Assen.
Close-up shot of the race leader, Pecco Bagnaia. As mentioned, Ducati have only ever won once here at the Dutch TT. That was back in 2008 when Casey Stoner converted pole position into a victory. They're on target at the moment for a 1-2 between their Ducatis. The GP22 of Pecco Bagnaia and the GP21 of Marco Bezzecchi, who's had a sensational rookie season. He's impressed us throughout since he arrived on the scene with Mooney VR46. Is he about to come home here in Assen for a second-place finish and a first MotoGP podium? He's got 4 more laps to go.
Simon Crayford just confirming what I suspected down in pit lane. Ralph Fernandez was sidelined with the arm pump then. That's what ruled the Spanish rider out on the Tech 3 KTM. As we look down then on this Assen circuit, and we're looking at potentially a key victory here for Pecco Bagnaia, collecting 25 points, which will galvanise his championship challenge, which stalled somewhat with 3 DNFs in the last 4 Grand Prix. Bagnaia will be just praying now that we don't get any more rain intervention, because this would be cruel. He's been in complete control, in command of this Grand Prix. It would be a bit harsh for him to lose it if the rain did start to fall down heavy. At the moment, it isn't, and at the moment, Bagnaia well on course for yet another victory on the factory Ducati from his 10th pole, still 1.7 seconds clear of Bezzecchi.
Look a little bit wide there for Maverick Vinales, just ahead of Jack Miller. This fight for the final podium position is certainly not over yet. At the moment, it's Vinales who leads it. Miller was a couple of tenths quicker, though, than the Aprilia man last time around. The fastest rider on track, though, remains Aleix Espargaro, who's just done a 1:32.505, virtually matching his fastest lap of the race that he set around 9 laps ago. This pace that Aleix Espargaro has could certainly have seen him challenge for the race victory. Of course, it will be the big unanswered question of this Grand Prix. Where would Quartararo and Aleix Espargaro have figured in this battle for the victory? Because Bagnaia has been managing this lead at the front since his 2 key rivals were taken out, but he's been basically managing the gap to Marco Bezzecchi and doing a very good job of it. But further back, his teammate could still join him on the podium.
Here comes Miller then, really now piling the pressure on the back of Vinales. Up through the vault they go. This is going to be an intense late battle here between Vinales and Miller. Great pals from back in the day. They used to share a motorhome together in the early part of their career. They had a pretty controversial incident in qualifying yesterday, which cost Miller a long lap penalty. But is Miller going to snatch the podium away here late on from the Aprilia man? He's building momentum through the 4th gear Ramshook on this lap number 24. Is he going to be close to attack on the brakes? No, he isn't. Maverick Vinales, though, will know that Miller is right there. Miller closes right up on the Aprilia man through the timber chicane. Is Miller going to be close to attack the Spaniard on the brakes at the first corner? No, Vinales really good on the front end of that Aprilia. He stands firm, holds that 3rd place here. 2 laps to go. Pecco Bagnaia on course for the victory. Marco Bezzecchi on course for a first Premier Class podium. But it's all coming down to this late battle between Miller and Vinales for 3rd.
Is Destrubben a potential possibility? No, Maverick Vinales is able to take that tighter defensive line into Destrubben. That might give Jack Miller a bit of a slingshot down the Wienstein, the back straight here towards turn 6, the Rushkenhoek corner. But Vinales gets out of that corner pretty well. He stays clear of the Ducati. You've got to update as well. You can follow Aleix Espargaro on the left-hand side of the screen. His progress continues. He will catch Jorge Martin if he continues to catch him at the progress he's at the moment. He will catch him on the final lap. So 2 key battles going on. The battle for the final podium position and the battle for 5th, 6th and 7th. Binder, Martin, Aleix Espargaro.
Yeah, don't discount Binder, Martin, Aleix Espargaro potentially getting in this battle for 3rd, because they've started to claw back a little bit of time to Vinales and Miller. It might just be a little bit too little, too late, as we look down on Vinales and Miller then through the 6th gear Hoga Heider. Looks like Bagnaia just got a slightly better turning through that sector on the factory Aprilia. Now, this was where Miller was really good. Through Ramshook. Can he get close enough to attack Vinales on the brakes in the timber chicane? He certainly can. He's gone for it. Is he going to go a little bit hot? He sadly has. So Miller briefly for what a second had third place here from Vinales, and now Miller with that running in too hot. He looks like he's under, well, he is under big pressure here coming from Binder. Aleix Espargaro has taken 6th place from Jorge Martin. So what looked like being a bad day for Aleix Espargaro is getting better and better. What a rescue job by him. He's now in P6.
P5's not out of the question yet either. He did a 1:32.8 last time around. That was 4/10 quicker than Brad Binder. He's got half a second to make up on this final lap. He's going to be very, very close, Aleix Espargaro, to the South African in that final chicane. But with that moment for Jack Miller, that mistake into the chicane last time around, that leaves Maverick Vinales clear. He's just got a mistake-free final lap to go, and he will have finally his first podium finish in factory Aprilia colours. It would be a bit of a save for the Aprilia team in general, wouldn't it, if Aleix Espargaro can join him inside the top 6. Bagnaia's lead at the front is a 1.5 seconds. Bezzecchi is clear of Maverick Vinales. He's got a 1 second advantage in his pocket, and Vinales at the moment looks safe in 3rd position. The big question is, can Miller hold off Binder, and can they both hold off Aleix Espargaro?
Bagnaia has been the top man in this Assen Grand Prix, but it looks like the Top Gun will hold on for his first Aprilia podium. Here we come then, Pecco Bagnaia through Hoogerheide to turn 13. Just 3 corners left there now for Pecco Bagnaia, as Ducati are going to get some Dutch delight here in Assen after the bitter disappointment of his crash out of victory contention 7 days ago in the Sachsenring. Our Dutch TT winner in 2022 is Pecco Bagnaia. Marco Bezzecchi takes a career first, 2nd place. Maverick Vinales comes over the line for a first Aprilia podium, and Aleix Espargaro with a sensational last lap gets through on both Binder and Miller to rescue 4th after his collision with Fabio Quartararo very early on. And that was a big, big race for Aleix Espargaro. Look at that big intake of breath from him. What a move this is. He's got Binder and Miller in front of him, 2 of the latest breakers in MotoGP. How close was that? How enthralling and thrilling was that last corner from Aleix Espargaro? Brad Binder was in the Miller-Espargaro sandwich, but Aleix Espargaro comes over the line with a 4th place, which will feel like a win after his early race drama. Of course, Fabio Quartararo went down twice. Look at this. This was classic last corner, last lap, Timmer chicane action, wasn't it, in MotoGP here in Assen. Jack Miller came off the worst of it. He goes down into 6th place. What a ride, though, by Aleix Espargaro, and a first Aprilia podium for Maverick Vinales. Let's go down to a delighted factory Aprilia team manager, Paolo Bonora, with Simon.
Paolo, Aleix to me looked like he had the pace to fight for the win today. It's so sad for all of us we didn't get to see if he could. But also Maverick, it must feel so good to see him on the podium. Give us your thoughts.
Absolutely, what a race. I can't say any more than this. He has the race pace, absolutely. Unfortunately, in the first laps, he was out of the track, but by the way, unbelievable race. So we are happy about this.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
And look at the scenes of pure ecstasy for the Muni VR46 Ducati team as Valentino Rossi, at a circuit where no rider has won more Grand Prix in MotoGP than the legendary Italian Rossi, and the Muni VR46 Ducati team celebrate their first podium finish in MotoGP. What a top ride that was from Marco Bezzecchi. Pre-race, Davide Tardozzi, Pecco Bagnaia, race winner's team boss, said, keep an eye on Marco Bezzecchi because he's going to be fighting for the podium. That's exactly how it turned out. And Maverick Vinales' love affair, his adoration of this Assen circuit just goes on, doesn't it? The 27-year-old Spaniard who was 2nd here last year. There are a pocket of Rossi fans. The yellow flares are going off. I think Valentino Rossi's still selling as much merchandise these days in MotoGP as he was when he was in his heyday. Pecco Bagnaia then comes to celebrate with the Yellow Army. A great victory for him in what was not an easy race, under early pressure from Fabio Quartararo and Aleix Espargaro. And then the real nervy moments, the tense moments when he was seeing rain spots falling on his visor. But as he so often does in the past, he just keeps himself cool, keeps it all calculating and composed. And Pecco Bagnaia does take a very, very important victory here at the TT Circuit Assen. We're all about to head off on a deserved 5-week summer break, but what a way to wrap up the first part of this 2022 season. So many standout rides across all 3 classes. Great action in Moto3, Moto2, and now in MotoGP. And what about this man? Aleix Espargaro, that is going to feel like a win, no question. Off the circuit early on at turn 5, after the contact and aggressive move by Fabio Quartararo. Aleix Espargaro, I think, was 15th, Lewis. He went all the way back to 15th.
Pretty sure he was 8 seconds off the lead as well when that happened. He only finished 2.5 seconds off the win and just over a second off the podium. As good as his victory was back in Argentina, look at that overtake. You saw Jack Miller with his hand up afterwards. I'm not sure Brad Binder could have done an awful lot about that, to be fair. The overtake of the season, there is no doubt, from Aleix Espargaro, and he takes 13 points back from Fabio Quartararo.
MotoGP at his absolute best. We love that kind of close action on that last lap. Let's go down to, I'm sure, a very, very happy factory Ducati boss, Gigi Linear with Simon.
Gigi, please give us your thoughts on that awesome win.
You know, it's a beautiful victory for us. You know, Pecco ride very well all the weekend. Bezzecchi, for sure, he did an amazing race, and you know, we are really, really happy about this result. We are quite lucky because of the problems that the others have during the race. But anyway, I think that we did well, even if the race was normal. So I'm really happy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
There's just so many great scenes across the pit lane here in MotoGP. We've seen the joyous celebrations for Mooney VR46, Ducati. Great scenes as Maverick Vinales celebrates his first podium with the factory Aprilia team. And here is Fabio Quartararo. He's a classy guy. You knew as soon as Aleix Espargaro took the checkered flag, he's going to apologise to his man. He comes down to just say sorry for all that contact going in to turn 5 at the Strub, and they can have a big smile about it now. They're great friends off the circuit, these two. And Aleix Espargaro's private jet broke down coming to Assen. He FaceTimed Fabio Quartararo in the pre-event press conference. They can smile about it now. They'll share a joke about it over a beer, I'm sure, later.
Yeah, no hard feelings in the end, and they're still very much World Championship contenders, aren't they? Fabio Quartararo's lead has been cut to 21 points over Aleix Espargaro as a result of that. But what a ride for this man. Does the doctor proud here this afternoon at Assen, a first MotoGP podium as he's lifted aloft Marco Bezzecchi. What a ride in what is already an impressive rookie season.
The first of many in MotoGP. Let's quickly pop back down to Simon in pit lane.
No, guys, I'm just trying to get hold of Pablo Nieto, and I just can't believe that's the best Parc Ferme celebration I've ever seen with Bez.
Yeah, thanks for that, Simon. Yeah, Pablo Nieto will be somewhere being absolutely mobbed by the delirious Mooney VR46 Ducati team. Great job, though, by Pecco Bagnaia. What a response that is as well after the disappointment of his third DNF in 4 last time out in Germany. First MotoGP podium then for Marco Bezzecchi. Bez, it's going to be a happy Monday for him, isn't it? That's for sure. Great scenes of celebration between these two guys. They're such good pals, part of the famous VR46 Academy. Wherever Valentino Rossi is right now in the world, he will be loving this special, special moment. Where do you even start to try and cover what's happened on race day here in Assen? 3 of the best races you'll ever wish to see, jam-packed full of excitement, drama, unexpected twists and turns. Ducati, of course, now they've had at least one bike on the podium in MotoGP in 17 races in a row. That's equaling their best ever streak. Can that be beaten next time out? A date for your diary, August the 7th, the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Marco Bezzecchi is going to have a very, very happy summer break splashing around on that Adriatic coast.
Certainly is. When you look back to his previous best result in MotoGP, of course, which was a very fine top 6 finish at Mugello, of course, his home Grand Prix when he came home in 5th position. There were circumstances that contributed to that. Of course, it was a rather dramatic qualifying session, a bit of emotion there in the Pecco Bagnaia camp, but there was certainly no asterisk next to this one. It was a straight-up qualifying. He qualified it on merit on the second row of the grid in 4th position and was able to back it up in the race. A rather rueful Luca Marini walks out of the VR46 pit box. Here's what happened to him, of course. Dragmi had already made contact before this point on his way to the grid, and then he pulls in front of Luca Marini, and Marini, as a result, drops way down to the back of the field.
So yeah, on board then with the Neo Bastianini. Look at that, you can just see there the front wheel was up in the air, wasn't it, from Joan Mir, so he kind of got sucked to his left. There was no intent at all. That wasn't a deliberate hard move. There was just nothing really that Mir could do. Unfortunately, the man who came off on the wrong side of it was Luca Marini, who's going to be a little bit disappointed. Of course, he would have loved to have been the man to have taken the first podium for the Marini VR46 Ducati team. It's going to be a while until that smile's wiped off the face of Viñales as well. Another podium for him here in Assen, and he did an excellent job to resist some intense late pressure, particularly coming from Jack Miller. Here he is at a first Aprilia podium to Maverick Viñales with Simon.
Maverick, we look forward to hear about your race, but how does it feel to put the Aprilia on the podium?
Well, it feels like the hard work we are doing, it's paying off. It has been a very tough race. I pushed every lap at the maximum because I was coming very from the back. But I felt fantastic, the bike, every time we are coming better, and you know, this great team deserves to be in the podium each weekend, so I will push very hard. I want to say thanks to my beautiful family that is keeping me really high all the time, and nothing more to add. I can't wait to be on Silverstone and push myself again. So,
congratulations.
Thank you, Aprilia.
Great job, yeah, thank you, Aprilia. Aprilia, the Nawali factory, rescued this man from potential career oblivion, didn't they? This race last year, this was Jack Miller on the inside of Viñales at the Timor chicane late on. That ended Jack Miller's podium hopes, but it was here 1 year ago when Viñales took second that all the rumours started about his departure from Yamaha and the start of this great relationship with Aprilia. What a sight that is. Maverick Viñales has his first podium with the factory Aprilia team. They were third and fourth in that race. A top job. Can't speak highly enough of the job that Aleix Espargaro did. That was a stupendous comeback to fourth place. Great scenes then there. There's Massimo Rivola, the Aprilia Racing CEO. He looks like the cat that's got the cream, doesn't he, as well? I'm guessing that puts Aprilia back in charge of the team championship. That's why they're all so happy it does. They move ahead of Monster Energy Yamaha MotoGP after a very unusual poor day at the office for the Iwata factory. No points for Quartararo or Frankie Morbidelli. Special scenes then here for two of Valentino Rossi's boys. Jorge Martin, a disappointing seventh. Before those rain spots fell, he looked like well set for a relatively secure third place, but it just seemed like he just got disturbed a little bit more than those around him when those rain flags did come out. Totally understandable, of course, when you're riding a 300 horsepower MotoGP bike around one of the fastest tracks on the calendar. He looks like a rock star. He's a superstar in MotoGP, isn't he? Marco Bezzecchi, his first MotoGP podium with Simon.
Marco, what a beautiful ride. Tell us about it. How does it feel to be on the podium in MotoGP?
Well, honestly, I have really no words. It's fantastic to make this race possible. We worked very well and the team made something unbelievable. So this is all for them, for my family, my girlfriend at home, supporting me, all my friends, and now I can go holiday very happy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
He can certainly go on his holidays very, very happy. Fantastic job by this man, number 72, Marco Bezzecchi, takes his first MotoGP podium. He thought a front row start in front of his home crowd in Mugello was good, but this is going to be even sweeter, isn't it? And there are the special scenes. The first time then as a MotoGP team manager, team owner, that Valentino Rossi has got a podium. There is Matteo Flamini, of course, who was a long-serving data engineer alongside Valentino Rossi for many, many years. And there, what a sight that is. What a shot, paying homage to the boss, to his manager and mentor, Valentino Rossi. And Pecco Bagnaia then back on the top step of the podium here in Assen. He's with Simon.
Pecco, pole position, race win. Please tell us how it felt out there.
It was very long, very long. The first time I watched how many laps were remaining were 24. So I just done 2 laps and it was too long even. In any case, I'm so happy after 2 difficult races when we were always competitive, but without having results. So it's incredible. I'm so happy. We did an incredible job. It wasn't easy because during half race it started raining a bit and was very scary. But finally, one here means to me that we are very good. We are strong.
big congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Pecco Bagnaia does love Assen. He loves it so much. He was a winner in Moto3 back in 2016, his first win. He's got a tattoo of the circuit on his right arm. And finally then, he wins here in Assen in MotoGP. Ducati's first win here in 14 years. Davide Tardozzi and Paolo Ciabatti. Contrasting scenes to 1 week ago when they were crestfallen over in the Sachsenring. What a job by this man. It's a bit of an old cliche, but you can't keep a good man down for too long. He resisted some pretty big pressure from Bezzecchi. Very, very difficult as well to manage how hard you can push, how fast you can go when you've got those rain spots falling on the visor. But he kept himself inch perfect, as he so often does. Two men then, a great day that they've had. Bezzecchi on the podium here at the Motul TT Assen. A race day here that we're not going to forget for an awful long time. We've still got some more race action to come. As Marc Marquez looked like he enjoyed it. He's got some olives, some nachos, as he caught up with the race live. I'm sure Marc was wishing he was part of that epic battle here in MotoGP.
Don't forget, the racing isn't over yet. We've still got the second race of the FIM Moto2 World Cup to come here this afternoon. And that race was every bit as good yesterday as the three we've had so far today. Pecco Bagnaia, who of course has a tattoo of the Assen circuit on his arm after taking his first ever Grand Prix victory here for the Aspar Mahindra team back in 2016. I wonder whether he'll add another one on the other arm after this one.
So we'll stay silent then to listen to the top three men digest that race.
It was him.
But he closed, you closed a bit.
Yeah, but I saw him closer. I said, maybe it's a possibility to stay with him and go away.
But finally, good like this.
Yeah, the tires were good already. 32 still in last lap.
I was doing 33.0.
30. I make again 39.
2, 1, 9.
I make 32.9
Yes,
on the second last lap.
Was a bit risky.
Because
You was very calm.
I was 1.4 from you. Then you saw I make a big shake, and then I was 0.9. I said no, because I didn't know if you were alone or not.
No, I was closing Miller. Because he was coming very fast.
In the beginning with Miller I make full gas battle. I go like this in turn 9 for me. C'è la telecamera. Maybe they put it in some.
Bello, ci vuole. Before the summer break like this. Better taste for sure.
Different way of holidays.
Back on the podium from?
Yeah, this race.
From this race?
Yes.
In Assen?
1 year. But I ran last week.
Yes, I was able, but...
What did you break?
Maybe a bit of...
What did you break last race?
The start de bares.
Maybe the bad luck at finish. Starting finish.
Finish, no. I hope.
I hope.
I hope. It's a good time to finish. Nice.
Fortuna come so.
We were all
like this.
Binder was so fast on the beginning. Binder was so fast.
Fortunately I put soft. I wanted to race with medium, but the medium
No. When I saw...
No, the medium real. No. Because I tried only the medium in the free practice.
The medium era non speaker. The medium non speaker.
So great to hear from the top three boys as they begin their summer holidays. All three of them there saying, yeah, what a nice way to go to celebrate your Motul TT Assen podium in MotoGP, then underway here.
And of course, Aprilia are becoming used to seeing their riders on the podium, but they're not used to seeing it being Maverick Viñales. The first time for him with the Nuali factory, the overjoyed Marco Bezzecchi. The first of many podiums for him. But for Pecco Bagnaia, it's a 7th Grand Prix victory in the MotoGP class, the 17th in all classes, the first of which, as mentioned, did come here when he was a Mahindra Aspar rider in the Moto3 World Championship. As we step onto the podium, that's what it looks like to be standing on a top step of a Grand Prix podium in the MotoGP World Championship. Ducati then, another victory for them, their 6th in 11 races, of course, 3 apiece now for Pecco Bagnaia and Enea Bastianini. The winning constructor prize handed on by Yvonne Kleisch from Motul PR and Media, the sponsors, of course, of the TT Assen. Third place for Maverick Viñales, as he was saying in the set there. his first podium since he was last on the podium here last year. 12 months between drinks, but Maverick Vinales is back. Is this now the start of a golden run for Top Gun at Aprilia? Third place for him. Second place for Marco Bezzecchi, our young boss, president of the board here at the TT Circuit Assen. Shakes hands with Marco Bezzecchi. I'm not sure who's happier, him or his Mooney VR46 team, just below the podium, but a sensational result, well-deserved podium. And the chants begin below the podium. Bezzecchi is conducting the orchestra right now on the podium, but his fellow countryman, his fellow VR46 Academy graduate, Pecco Bagnaia, will receive the prize as the race winner. What a difference a week makes for Pecco. The winning trophy handed over to him by the King's Commissioner, Jette Kleinsma. Victory number 7 in the Premier class. Bagnaia bounces back from the despair of the Sachsenring to the joy here at Assen.
What an unforgettable day then for Pecco Bagnaia, for Marco Bezzecchi and for Maverick Vinales as the Prosecco gets sprayed on the podium here at the TT Circuit Assen. What a way for the paddock to go on its well-deserved 5-week summer break, with Bagnaia taking the victory by just under half a second. A historic day for Valentino Rossi. He's been a race-winning team manager in Moto3, a race-winning team manager in Moto2, a championship-winning team manager, of course, in Moto2. But he's on the podium, the doctor, for the first time as a team owner in MotoGP. What a special day for the Mooney VR46 operation and Marco Bezzecchi. And what a difference a week makes for Pecco Bagnaia, and what a difference a year makes for Maverick Vinales. Right here 1 year ago, he could not have looked any more glum or unhappy with life, even with a second place on the factory Yamaha. It was here where all the rumours started about a potential relationship in the future with Aprilia. And here he is, 1 year later, on the RSGP, on the podium for the first time since this very Grand Prix 1 year ago. The Top Gun's firing on all cylinders again.
Don't ever let anyone tell you that MotoGP is predictable.